You know how much we love exploring new ideas here. And well, today we're going deep on something pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
It's how the Baha'i Faith looks at reality.
Okay.
We're going to see how it kind of lines up with, what modern science is telling us these days,
Right.
where those paths diverge a bit.
Uh-huh.
And then the big question is, what does it all mean for us, walking around, living our lives?
It's a perspective that really does challenge a lot of assumptions about the universe, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
When they think about the universe, it's like this giant machine.
Yeah, like a clock almost.
Yeah, set in motion,
Ticking away.
ticking away.
Yeah.
But the Baha'i Faith actually has a very different view.
Okay, so if it's not this cold, mechanical universe, then what are we talking about?
Imagine the universe, instead of like a machine, as like a living organism,
Oh, wow.
where everything is interconnected, everything's evolving, and it's all imbued with a deeper meaning and purpose.
Okay, that's a pretty big jump from the clockwork picture.
It is.
I'm already intrigued, I gotta say.
Yeah.
So what does that mean for us? I mean, how do we fit into this living universe now?
Well, think of it this way. Your body is made up of trillions of cells.
Right.
Each one has its own unique function,
Uh-huh.
but they all work together harmoniously.
To keep the whole system running.
Exactly, to make the whole system work.
Yeah.
So in the Baha'i view, we as individuals are like those cells.
I see.
We're part of a larger interconnected reality.
So we're not these isolated beings, we're part of something much bigger.
Exactly. And that interconnectedness has huge implications for how we approach like global challenges, even our personal relationships.
I can see that if everything is truly connected, then what I do over here affects everything else.
Absolutely.
Our actions have a much bigger impact than we maybe realize.
Uh-huh.
But before we get into all of that, I want to explore another area where the Baha'i Faith's perspective intersects with science.
Okay.
And this one's a little mind-bending even on its own. We're talking about quantum mechanics.
Yeah. Quantum mechanics, it's fascinating. And you know what's interesting?
What's that?
It actually supports this idea of interconnectedness.
Really?
And even physicists are still trying to grasp how that works.
Okay. Walk me through this. How does quantum mechanics connect to this Baha'i view?
Okay, so one of the key concepts in quantum mechanics is called quantum entanglement.
Okay, I've heard of this.
Essentially, it means that you can have two particles that are linked together
Mhm.
in such a way that even if they're separated by huge distances, like across the universe, what happens to one instantly affects the other.
So they're in sync even across the universe.
Yeah.
That's blowing my mind a little bit.
It does. It challenges everything we know about space and time and the idea that the universe is made up of separate objects.
Right, yeah.
So think about how this relates to what the Baha'i teachings say.
Okay.
They've long emphasized that the material world, this world that we see, is just one dimension of reality.
Uh-huh.
There's also a spiritual dimension that's invisible to us, but it's just as real, and it influences the material world.
So you've got these entangled particles acting like they're connected across vast distances.
Yes.
And the Baha'i Faith is saying that there's this unseen spiritual reality that's influencing the material world. I'm seeing the parallels here.
Exactly, and this leads to a really big question. If everything is truly interconnected,
Yeah.
both materially and spiritually, what does that mean for our actions and choices?
Whoa, okay, hold on a second. Let's let that sink in for a minute, because if our actions have this ripple effect throughout this whole web,
They do.
it changes how we view everything.
Absolutely.
And maybe that leads us to a new way of thinking about this whole science versus religion debate.
Yeah,
Doesn't the Baha'i Faith have a different take on that as well?
absolutely. Instead of seeing them as these warring factions,
Right.
the Baha'i Faith sees science and religion as complementary paths to understanding.
Okay.
Imagine them as two wings of a bird.
I like that.
Both are essential for flight.
Okay, but how do these two wings work together? I mean, practically speaking.
Well, science helps us explore the physical world,
Right.
unraveling its mysteries,
Yeah.
discovering its laws.
Makes sense.
But there's some questions that science alone just can't answer.
Oh, I see.
Questions like, why is there something rather than nothing?
Okay, yeah.
What is consciousness?
Right.
What is the meaning and purpose of life?
Those are the big ones
They are.
that keep us up at night.
Right, and sometimes science makes us feel more uncertain about them.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where religion comes in.
Okay.
It helps us grapple with those big questions of meaning and purpose, and it gives us a framework for understanding our place in the universe and our relationship to a higher power.
So it's not about choosing one or the other. It's about recognizing that both science and religion have something valuable to offer.
Exactly. It's about finding a balance,
Hmm.
recognizing that both are essential tools in our quest to understand reality.
It really makes you think, have you ever felt that conflict between scientific ideas and spiritual beliefs? Could this be a new way to kind of look at that tension?
It encourages us to look beyond the surface and to seek a deeper meaning in both the discoveries of science and the teachings of religion.
It's definitely a shift from that purely materialistic worldview that we see so much today.
It is,
That the universe is just a machine,
right, a self-sustaining machine with no higher purpose.
devoid of any meaning.
Yeah, and the scientific method is an amazing tool for understanding how the universe works,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't necessarily address the why.
Okay, so where does the Baha'i Faith fit into all this? How does it address the why?
The Baha'i teachings suggest that the material world, the one we can see and touch, is actually a reflection of a higher spiritual reality.
So we're not rejecting scientific explanations. We're just saying they're part of a much bigger story.
You got it. It's about expanding our understanding of reality
Okay.
to encompass both the material and the spiritual.
That's a powerful concept, and it really makes you think, does a purely material explanation of the universe without any sense of purpose or meaning really feel complete to you?
Yeah.
What role does spirituality play in how you see the world?
These are great questions to think about.
Yeah.
Because if we open ourselves to the possibility of a spiritual dimension, it can change how we see the world and our place in it.
For sure.
It's wild to think we live in a world with constant information overload,
Yeah.
distractions everywhere.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the noise and the business and forget about the things that matter.
Yeah, just rushing from one thing to the next without ever stopping to think about the big picture.
Exactly.
And this is where this Baha'i emphasis on spiritual development is so
Yeah.
important.
Oh, okay.
It's not just about understanding these concepts on an intellectual level.
Right.
It's about really integrating them into our lives,
Okay.
letting them shape how we think, act, interact with the world around us.
So it's like, okay, I know about these ideas, but I need to actually live them.
Okay. You know, the Baha'i writings talk about cultivating certain virtues like love, compassion, justice, cooperation.
Yeah.
These qualities that help us live more meaningful, fulfilling lives.
You know, it's funny because a lot of these qualities are being studied now in positive psychology.
Right.
There's a growing amount of research that shows that practicing things like gratitude, kindness, and forgiveness can actually make us happier people.
That's a great point. And it goes back to that idea that science and spirituality are complementary.
Yeah, they're both exploring the same human experience, just from different angles.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these spiritual qualities that the Baha'i Faith emphasizes, but how do we cultivate them?
Right.
It can feel a little overwhelming.
It can.
Where do we even begin?
Well, the Baha'i writings offer a lot of practical guidance.
Okay.
One key principle is the importance of prayer and meditation.
Okay.
It's about taking time each day to connect with that inner source of wisdom and guidance,
Uh-huh.
to quiet the mind and listen to that still small voice inside.
It's almost like hitting the pause button on all that external noise and tuning in to a deeper frequency.
You could say that, yeah.
Yeah,
It's about creating space in our lives to connect with something larger than ourselves.
makes sense.
And another important aspect is service to others.
Okay.
The Baha'i teachings really emphasize that true happiness comes from contributing to the well-being of humanity.
It's about shifting that focus from me to we,
Yeah.
recognizing we're all part of this web and our actions affect other people.
Yes, and it's not about these grand gestures, saving the world on our own.
Right.
It can be as simple as helping a neighbor, listening with compassion to a friend, being mindful of our impact on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, those everyday acts of kindness and compassion, they do make a difference.
They do.
It's a ripple effect.
Exactly. And as we cultivate these virtues, we start to see the world differently.
Yeah.
We become more aware of the interconnectedness of all things, more sensitive to the needs of others.
It sounds like it's a slow process, though, this spiritual development.
It's a journey.
It's not something that happens overnight.
Not at all. It's an ongoing journey of learning, growth, transformation. But it's a journey that's full of meaning and purpose.
I can see how embracing this perspective can lead to a sense of peace and fulfillment,
Yeah.
even with everything going on in the world.
Even amidst all the chaos.
Yeah,
It's like finding that firm foundation to stand on.
exactly. And this idea of unity and interconnectedness, it has huge implications for how we approach diversity.
Yeah.
In a world that often emphasizes our differences, the Bahá'í Faith calls for unity and diversity.
That's right.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity while still appreciating the unique perspectives and contributions of each individual.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It's powerful, and it makes me think about how ecosystems thrive on diversity.
That's a great comparison.
You need all those different species interacting to have a healthy environment.
A resilient environment.
Yeah, and just like a healthy ecosystem needs diversity, a strong and vibrant society needs to embrace our differences. So it's not about everyone becoming the same. It's about finding ways to live harmoniously together,
Right.
respecting each other's perspectives and beliefs, even when they're different from our own.
Exactly. Because it's in those differences that we find our greatest strengths. Each person brings something unique to the table.
Right.
And when we value and appreciate those differences, we create something far richer and more beautiful than anything we could achieve alone.
This is so inspiring, but it begs the question, what steps can we take in our own lives to foster this unity while still honoring diversity?
It's easy to talk about these concepts, but how do we put them into practice?
It's the age-old question.
Right. It is challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding, and it all starts with challenging our own biases and prejudices.
We all have them.
We all do. It's part of being human.
Right.
But it's about becoming aware of them and actively working to overcome them.
So being mindful of our thoughts, words, actions,
Yes.
making sure they're aligned with these principles of unity and respect.
And it's about being open to learning from others,
Yeah.
seeing the world through different lenses, because when we limit ourselves to our own narrow perspectives, we miss out on so much.
We become like those entangled particles stuck in our own little world.
Exactly.
Instead of embracing the possibilities that come with interconnectedness.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's in that exchange of ideas, that willingness to listen and learn from each other, that we start to bridge the divides that separate us.
So building a unified world really starts with building bridges within ourselves.
It does.
Acknowledging our own biases and being open to different perspectives.
You've got it. It's a process, a journey of personal and collective transformation.
But it's a journey worth taking.
It is, because the destination is a world where unity and diversity isn't just a nice idea.
Right.
It's a lived reality.
Where we celebrate our differences while recognizing we're all interconnected.
Now, that's a vision worth striving for. And as we go deeper into this idea of interconnectedness, it's fascinating to see how it impacts our understanding of the human spirit.
You know, it's amazing to think about how this idea of interconnectedness ties into all these different aspects of life, from our personal growth to even global challenges.
Right.
And speaking of global challenges, I'm really curious to hear how the Baha'i Faith's focus on unity and interconnectedness might offer like new solutions, to these problems that we're facing.
Well, let's imagine for a second that we fully embrace this idea of interconnectedness.
Okay.
Not just as a concept, but like as a lived reality. How might that change how we approach something like climate change?
Instead of seeing it as just an environmental problem, we start to understand it as like a symptom of disharmony.
Exactly.
A breakdown in our relationship with the planet and with each other.
Yeah. We'd see how our individual choices, like what we buy, how we travel, how we treat the earth, are all connected to this larger web. So it wouldn't just be about reducing carbon emissions.
Right.
It'd be about fundamentally shifting our values and behaviors.
It's like we'd be addressing the root causes instead of just treating the symptoms.
Exactly.
And it makes you wonder, could this interconnected perspective also change how we approach conflict?
Yeah.
I mean, so much of the strife in the world comes from that us versus them mentality.
Right. You're hitting on a really important point.
Yeah.
If we truly understood our interconnectedness, I think conflicts between nations, cultures, even individuals would take on a whole new meaning.
Okay.
We'd be more likely to seek understanding, build bridges, find solutions that benefit everyone involved.
So instead of digging in our heels and defending our own little territories, we'd be looking for that common ground.
Exactly.
Shared solutions.
We'd recognize that we're all part of one human family.
Yeah.
Sharing this planet, facing these challenges together.
It's a beautiful thought, and this shift in perspective wouldn't just be limited to global issues.
Right.
I mean, think about how it could transform our personal relationships. So paint me a picture. What would a world where people truly understood their interconnectedness look like on a day-to-day basis?
Imagine interacting with people, knowing that you're not just dealing with a separate individual,
Yeah.
but with someone who's essentially a part of you on a deeper level.
Okay.
Wouldn't that foster more empathy, more compassion, more patience?
It would totally change how we communicate with each other.
Yeah.
We'd be less quick to judge, more likely to see the good in people.
And that's really what the Baha'i teachings call for.
What's that?
A world where humanity recognizes its interconnectedness and works together to build a more just unified and peaceful society.
It's a powerful vision, but it also feels like a huge responsibility.
It does.
Where do we even begin to create that kind of world?
It can feel overwhelming, but it's important to remember it starts with each of us.
Okay.
With our own individual choices, actions, interactions.
Right.
Every act of kindness.
Right.
Every effort to understand someone different from us.
Yeah.
Every step we take to live in harmony with the planet.
Yeah.
Those are all contributions to building a better world.
So it's not about waiting for some big event or for someone else to fix things.
Right.
It's about taking responsibility for our own little corner of the universe.
It's about asking ourselves, how can I, in my daily life, embody these principles of unity, love, interconnectedness? How can I be a source of healing and progress in the world, even in small ways?
Wow, it's like each of us is holding a piece of the puzzle, and it's only when we come together recognizing our interconnectedness that we can create the complete picture.
Exactly.
This has been an incredible journey, this deep dive. I feel like we've only just scratched the surface of such a profound and complex topic.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
There's always more to explore, more to learn, more to discover. This journey of understanding our place in this vast, interconnected universe never really ends.
So to our listener, if this conversation has sparked your curiosity, we encourage you to keep exploring, delve deeper into the Baha'i teachings, engage in conversations with people from different backgrounds, and most importantly, see how you can bring these principles of unity and interconnectedness into your own life.
The world needs your unique contributions, your insights, your compassion, and you never know what ripple effects your actions might create, spreading outwards and touching countless lives.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep seeking, keep learning, and keep connecting.